Hi, my name is Corrie, and I'm going to read for you out of The Hiding Place from Corrie Ten Boom's life. I'm starting with the foreword. It was the strangest of times. We wore tie-dyed shirts, listened to Jimi Hendrix, and watched the Vietnam War over TV dinners. Well, not everybody did that. I was not into shirts that made me dizzy. I hated psychedelic music, and I turned the channel whenever the war came on. I had more important things on my mind, like surviving. The year 1971 marked 4 years in a wheelchair for me. Although my diving accident was in the past, the quadriplegia was not. I was still a little shaky, living with total and permanent paralysis. Plus, I was struggling to understand how God was going to use it for my good. It did not help that the world around me was unraveling at the seams. Somewhere in the mayhem, a friend gave me a copy of The Hiding Place. The back cover explained that it was about the life of Corrie Ten Boom, a survivor of Nazi death camps. I was intrigued. As I said, I was into surviving. Perhaps the gutsy grey-haired woman wearing a coat like the old raccoon thing in my mother's closet would have something to say for me. The first chapter had me hooked. Although Corrie was from a different era, her life reached across the decades. World War II was far different from her own Holocaust, but her ability to look straight into the terrifying jaws of a gas-chambered hell and walked out courageously into the sunshine of the other side was, well, just the story I needed to hear. For years to come, when I would occasionally fall back into my own pit of fear or depression, the Spirit of God would tenderly bring me to mind her well-known phrases. There is no pit so deep that God's love is not deeper still. Only heaven will reveal the top side of God's tapestry. And probably the most poignant and powerful of all, simply, Jesus is victor. You can understand why, when I first met Corrie Ten Boom, I was filled with glee. She grasped my shoulder firmly and announced in her thick Dutch accent, "Oh, Joni, it will be a grand day when we will dance together in heaven." The image she painted of us skipping down the streets of gold left me breathless. I could easily picture the scene of glory and gladness. It made me realize I had survived. From then on, the years flew. Corrie continued to write her books, travel to countless countries, and even oversee the film they made of The Hiding Place. But time was catching up with her, and after several strokes, her tired body finally gave out. When I attended her funeral, a quiet ceremony with testimonies and tulips, I kept thinking of that moment we first met. I smiled to imagine that heaven was applauding and that Jesus was probably explaining to her his choice of strange, dark threads mixed among the gold in the tapestry of which he so often spoke. That was 1983. The years have continued to march on, and sadly, things are no less crazy. What few seems are holding the planet together are strained and threadbare, like so many people wondering how to survive in a world that even dear Corrie would barely recognize. I take that back. She would recognize it, and she would know exactly what to do in the face of new wars, whispering of global holocausts that threaten the survival of all mankind. she would firmly yet gently point people to the Savior, reminding them that he is still victor. She would remind us all of the old story that Jesus has conquered sin, no matter how ugly and pernicious it gets. And that soon, perhaps sooner than we think, he will finally close the curtain on all sin and suffering, hate and holocausts, to welcome home his survivors. One more thing. In the fall of 2004, as I was on a 20-hour flight to India, the decades finally caught up with me. I was in great pain, sitting on quadriplegic bones that were thin and tired. To pass the hours and to keep discomfort at bay, I started reading another Corrie book, Life Lessons from the Hiding Place. I got a lump in my throat as I read about her incredible passion to travel the world to share the gospel of Christ. At the age of 85, Corrie Ten Boom was enduring flights like this one. And if she could do it, by the grace of God, so can I. It was all the inspiration and encouragement I needed for the grueling journey. Once again, Corrie Ten Boom had spoken. Corrie's story is as current and compelling as ever. This is why I am pleased and happy to commend to you, part of a new generation of readers, this special edition of The Hiding Place. It is for every person whose soul is threadbare and frazzled, and for every individual who must walk into the jaws of his or her own suffering. And if you have gotten this far, it is for you. Go a little further, and you will discover what I did so long ago. If God's grace could sustain Corrie in that concentration camp, then his grace is sufficient for you. With his help, you can survive. And Corrie would say, you will. Joni Eareckson Tada, Joni and Friends, Fall 2005. Next time, Chapter 1 of The Hiding Place.